You don't get what you deserve. You get what you dare to ask for. That truth lands hard because so many of us live the opposite way. We wait for recognition. We wait for fairness. We wait for someone to notice how much we've been giving. We cling to the hope that if we're good enough, patient enough, or hardworking enough, life will hand us the reward we secretly crave. But the silence stretches on, and nothing changes. Respect doesn't come. Freedom doesn't appear. Support never arrives. The hidden cost of silence is stagnation. Most people think asking makes them look needy, selfish, or weak. The exact opposite is true. Asking, when done with clarity, calm, and confidence, is one of the boldest demonstrations of self-respect. It says, I count, I matter, I know what I'm worth. The people who rise in life are not always the most talented or even the hardest working. They are the ones who dare to step forward and articulate what they need, without shame. That's where our journey begins. Not with scripts or strategies yet, but with the raw belief that you deserve more. Because if you don't believe it, you'll never ask for it. You'll downplay your ambitions, swallow your needs, and tell yourself it's fine, even when it's not. That quiet compromise builds into a life you never really chose. And that is the tragedy. Not that you aimed high and missed, but that you never aimed at all. Imagine right now, you're listening in your car, or maybe late at night with earbuds in, scrolling through YouTube because something in you is restless. That restlessness is your inner voice trying to break through. So before we go further, pause for a moment, drop a comment, and let me know where you're tuning in from and what time of day it is. This channel, AudioBook Sanctuary, thrives on those connections. And if you don't want to miss any of the coming chapters, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what you're about to learn could change how you ask, and therefore how you live. Now, let's step into the story of worth. The first and most radical shift is training your mind to believe you deserve more. It doesn't begin with money. It doesn't begin with education. It doesn't even begin with talent. It begins with belief. Deep down, if you see yourself as undeserving, you'll never step forward. You'll never voice the request. You'll never fight for the raise, the opportunity, the respect. You'll tell yourself to be grateful for scraps, and that becomes your entire menu. I've seen this pattern over and over. People sit quietly in meetings, waiting for a chance that never comes. They lower their voices when they mention their goals, as if ambition were a crime. They tell themselves, I'm not ready. I'm not enough. And because they whisper, the world treats them like background noise. Here's the hard truth. Life doesn't reward those who play small. It rewards the bold. But here's the pivot. You can't be bold with others until you're bold with yourself. It starts inside your head. Stand tall in your own thoughts and say, I deserve more, and I will start asking for it. This isn't arrogance. This is truth. You were born with potential, and potential wasted is a betrayal of your own soul. You don't need to wait for perfection before you claim your right to grow. You just need the courage to replace that inner voice of doubt with a voice of strength. For example, maybe your inner script right now sounds like, I'm not good enough, or I'll look foolish if I ask. That script is poison. Replace it with, I am capable, I matter, I have something to offer. Say it out loud if you need to. Look in the mirror and confront yourself with it. The world is loud, but the loudest voice shaping your life is the one inside your own skull. Train it. This training isn't glamorous. It's daily work. It's catching yourself mid-thought when you shrink back. It's noticing the moment you apologize for taking up space. It's recognizing when you accept less than fair treatment and telling yourself, "No, I won't settle." And every small correction adds up. Over time, your inner world grows stronger. You stop talking yourself out of opportunities. You start walking into rooms differently. You shake hands with confidence. You speak with a tone that says, "I belong here." Think back to your childhood. Were you told to stay quiet? To not expect too much? To be thankful for whatever you got? Those lessons may have helped you survive, but they do not help you thrive. They etched grooves into your thinking that say, "Don't rock the boat. Don't ask for more." But adulthood is the time to unlearn what no longer serves you. You are not a child anymore. You don't need permission to want more out of life. Here's a practical exercise. Each morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say 3 lines. I'm here to grow. I'm here to contribute. I'm here to win. Let that mantra guide how you walk into the day. And when your chest tightens at the thought of asking, when your voice wants to shrink, remind yourself, asking is not a burden, it's a responsibility. If you're showing up, working hard, adding value, you owe it to yourself to make your needs clear. The cost of silence is heavy. It keeps you stuck in jobs that drain you, relationships that belittle you, routines that suffocate you. The reward of speaking is freedom. Every time you ask, you raise your standard for what you will and won't accept. You stop begging for crumbs and go for the full meal. Not because you're greedy, but because you know your worth. This first step is mental, but it changes everything else. The person who believes they deserve more doesn't chase people who disrespect them. They don't tolerate environments that drain them. They don't wait for permission slips. They act. They ask. And the world responds. So anchor this truth. Your life will only rise as high as your belief in your own worth. And that belief must be strong enough to speak, strong enough to risk discomfort, strong enough to replace old lies with new clarity. Once you've trained your mind to believe you deserve more, the next challenge emerges, overcoming the idea that asking makes you a burden. Because if belief gives you the right to ask, strength is what makes you act. The moment you begin to believe you deserve more, another voice often sneaks in. Don't ask. You'll bother people. You'll be a burden. That thought has kept countless people silent, not because their needs weren't valid, but because they feared taking up space. It's a subtle but powerful trap. Deep down, many of us confuse asking with being a problem. We mistake requests for interruptions. But here's the truth. Asking isn't a burden, it's strength. Think about the people in your life who always remain quiet, even when they're struggling. They don't ask for help. They don't raise their hand. They don't speak their needs. And what happens? Their potential stays hidden. Their ideas never surface. Their dreams stall. Not because they weren't worthy, but because silence suffocated them. Weakness hides. Strength speaks. Here's the paradox. We often admire strength in others, but when it comes time to demonstrate it ourselves, we retreat. We worry others will see us as needy. We anticipate rejection before it even comes. So we keep quiet. But silence doesn't protect us. It punishes us. Needs ignored eventually turn into resentment. Dreams delayed harden into regret. Pause and notice your body's signals the next time you want to ask for something. Does your chest tighten? Does your voice feel smaller? That tension isn't politeness. It's fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of judgment. Fear of being told you're too much. Recognize it for what it is. a natural response, not a final verdict. Strength isn't the absence of that fear. Strength is speaking anyway. Let me give you an image. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack. Inside it are your needs, your dreams, your requests. Every day you carry it quietly, telling yourself, "I don't want to trouble anyone." Over time, the weight becomes unbearable. You slump, you tire, you shrink. But the backpack isn't lighter because you stayed quiet. It's heavier. Now imagine setting that backpack down and saying, "Can someone give me a hand with this?" That single ask doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. This is the shift. Asking is not a problem. It's progress. It's movement. It's clarity. Without it, life stays locked. Every door you never knock on remains closed. Not because it's barred, but because you never tried. The people who advance are not always the most qualified. They are the ones who ask the question, send the message, raise the hand. If you were raised in an environment where asking was frowned upon, that conditioning can feel permanent. Maybe you were told, "Don't be selfish," or punished when you expressed a need. But conditioning is not destiny. You can rewire the pattern. The first step is noticing how often you shrink your requests to seem easier for others. The second step is refusing to apologize for your voice. Here's a micro script you can borrow. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry to bother you, but," try, "Could you help me with this?" Simple, clear, respectful. No apology for existing. The language matters because every word either reinforces the belief you're a burden or affirms the truth that your needs are valid. Another exercise. This week, practice one direct ask per day. It doesn't have to be huge. Ask a colleague to clarify something. Ask a friend for their opinion. Ask your partner for support. These small moments train your nervous system to unlink asking from being a problem. Repetition builds confidence, and confidence becomes normal. Consider how relationships thrive. Whether in business or love, the strongest bonds aren't built on silence. They're built on communication. When you ask clearly, you show respect for yourself and for the other person. You're not forcing. You're not demanding. You're simply saying, "Here's what matters to me." That honesty is the foundation of trust. And yes, sometimes the answer will be no. That's okay. A no is clarity. It gives direction. Silence, on the other hand, leaves you guessing. Silence wastes time. Which would you rather live with? A temporary sting of rejection or the long ache of regret? Think of all the doors you haven't opened because you never knocked. The scholarships unclaimed, the raises never requested, the friendships that never deepened, the opportunities that slipped by. Not because you weren't worthy, but because you never asked. That's the true cost of believing you're a burden. So let me reframe it for you. Asking isn't a disruption, it's responsibility. It's how you move your life forward. Responsible people don't expect others to read their minds. They make their needs clear. They don't whisper hints. They don't hope someone notices. They step forward. And when they do, others respond. Because clarity invites action. You're not selfish for asking. You're not weak. You're not needy. You're strong enough to say, "Here's what I need to grow." And if someone reacts poorly to that, it's not proof that you were wrong to ask. It's proof that they're not the right person to support you. Strength isn't measured by how much weight you silently carry. It's measured by how clearly you can voice the truth, even when it shakes. Remember this: silence is surrender. Speaking is strength. As you carry this idea forward, hold on to one more truth. Nervousness doesn't disqualify you. Feeling fear when you speak is normal. The challenge is learning to voice your needs even when your hands tremble. And that's where we turn next. Your chest tightens, your palms sweat, your voice shakes. Those moments arrive the instant you think about saying what you need. And because the body feels alarmed, the mind says, "Stop, don't risk it." But here's the truth. Nervousness is not a stop sign. It's a signal. It means you care. It means you're stepping into something that matters. And the skill to develop is not avoiding nervousness, but speaking through it. Too many people mistake nerves for danger. They assume that if they feel shaky, they should stay silent. But that's like seeing a yellow light and never crossing the intersection. Life moves forward when you act, not when you freeze. The courage to speak your needs while your body trembles is what builds lasting confidence. Let's be clear. Everyone has needs. Everyone. The difference is how they handle them. Some avoid, some manipulate, some dump their frustration on others. But the strongest people, they speak directly. They say what they need without drama, without blame, without apology. That's what real maturity looks like. The ability to be honest even when your voice shakes. Think of the people you admire. They're not fearless. They're practiced. They've spoken through shaky voices enough times that the fear no longer owns them. You can do the same. Every time you voice a need despite nerves, you train your brain. You prove to yourself, I can survive this. I can be clear. My voice matters. If you were raised in a home where expressing needs caused conflict, it's natural to feel unsafe now. Maybe speaking up once brought punishment or ridicule. But that past doesn't have to dictate your future. Nervousness is simply the echo of old patterns. And the way to break them is practice. Here's a practical way to start. Pick one safe situation. Maybe asking a friend for clarification, or telling a coworker you need more time on a project. Use simple, calm words. Don't try to dress it up. Say, I need clarity on this. Or, could you give me until tomorrow? Direct, steady, human. You'll feel nervous at first, but say it anyway. The first time, your voice may crack. The second time, you may rush your words. That's fine. Progress is not about perfection. It's about proving to yourself that silence doesn't have to win. Over time, your nervous system learns. Asking is safe. Speaking is survivable. And eventually, it becomes normal. What's the alternative? Holding everything in. That path leads to resentment, confusion, and unnecessary stress. People can't respond to needs they never hear. They can't support requests that never leave your lips. Silence trains the world to ignore you. Speaking, even awkwardly, trains the world to recognize you. Here's another image. Picture a faucet that hasn't been turned on in years. When you finally twist the handle, the water sputters. It's uneven, shaky, messy. But if you keep turning it each day, the water runs clean and strong. Your voice is the same. At first, it sputters. With practice, it flows. So the next time your hands shake, don't shrink. Slow your breathing. Speak slowly. Say exactly what you mean, even if it feels uncomfortable. Don't wait for the nerves to disappear. They may never fully go away. What you need is the muscle to move forward while they're present. Here's a script you can borrow. This feels a little uncomfortable to say, but I need. That sentence does two things. First, it acknowledges your humanity. You're nervous, but you're trying. Second, it makes your need clear. People respect honesty. They may not always agree, but they trust straightforwardness. Strong communication isn't about winning every request. It's about showing up authentically. And even when the answer is no, you gain something valuable: clarity, self-respect, and proof that your voice is valid. You'll find that people actually respect you more when you speak up. They see you as grounded, as someone who knows where they stand. Yes, some will resist. Some may dismiss your words. But those reactions say more about them than about you. Your job is not to make everyone comfortable. Your job is to be truthful. To live in peace, you must speak your needs, even when your heart pounds. Because peace doesn't come from silence. It comes from clarity. So start now. Speak small needs. Practice in safe spaces. Then graduate to bigger requests. Each time you do, you weaken fear's grip. Nervousness may still show up, but it won't control you. That's the turning point. When your needs matter more than your nerves. Your voice is your power. Use it when it shakes. Use it when you feel unsure. Use it when your body screams to stay quiet. Because every time you speak, you reclaim another piece of yourself. Nervousness is temporary. Self-respect is permanent. Anchor this truth. Unmet needs are better than unspoken ones. Silence guarantees nothing changes. Speech gives life a chance to respond. And even if you don't get what you asked for, you gain strength simply by asking. Now that you see how vital it is to speak even through fear, we turn to the next barrier: waiting for someone else's permission. Because courage loses momentum if you keep holding back for approval. And the most powerful move you can make is asking without waiting for a green light. You've waited long enough for a sign, for approval, for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Now it's your turn." But here's the blunt truth. Nobody is coming to hand you that permission slip. The longer you wait, the more momentum drains out of your life. And while you're waiting, someone else with less skill, less preparation, and less hesitation is stepping up, asking boldly and moving ahead. The need for permission is a habit born from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being seen as pushy, fear of judgment. And so you delay. You tell yourself, "I'll ask when I'm ready." But readiness never arrives fully formed. Growth doesn't come after confidence. It comes before it. You don't become ready and then ask. You ask. And in the process, you become ready. Think of the years people lose waiting for the right conditions. They wait for the perfect moment to change careers. They wait until they feel 100% qualified before asking for a promotion. They wait for a sign before admitting their feelings to someone they care about. And as they wait, life passes. Opportunities drift. Doors close. Meanwhile, others are stepping in, not because they're more deserving, but because they stopped waiting. Let me offer a reframe. Every time you delay asking, you reinforce the belief that your future is in someone else's hands. You've already surrendered your power. But asking is never about permission. It's about clarity. It's about saying, "This is what I want. This is where I stand. And I'm willing to risk hearing no." Yes, no is possible. But no still gives you direction. It tells you what's not working, where not to waste your time, what needs refining. Waiting, on the other hand, gives you nothing but regret. Imagine standing at a train station, watching opportunity after opportunity speed by. You keep thinking, "I'll get on the next one." But hesitation becomes habit. And by the time you're ready to move, the platform is empty. That's what waiting for permission does. It tricks you into thinking safety is progress, when in truth, It's slow-motion surrender. Here's a practical tool. Replace "Am I allowed?" with "Is this honest and fair?" If the answer is yes, ask. Don't drown your request in over-explanations. Don't delay until you've found the perfect wording. Simple, direct, respectful sentences are enough. "Can I be part of this?" "I'd like to discuss an opportunity." "I'm interested." "What's the next step?" Short words that open big doors. Let's normalize this. Wanting something does not make you arrogant. Asking for it does not make you greedy. It makes you aware of your own goals. And awareness is a form of strength. Playing small is not humility. It's fear in disguise. True humility is knowing your value and still being open to learn. Many of us were trained as children to wait for permission. Don't speak unless spoken to. Raise your hand. Follow the rules. That conditioning might have kept us safe in classrooms. But adulthood is not school. There's no teacher watching over your every move. No principal waiting to call your name. The gatekeeper is gone. The only barrier left is the one inside your own mind. Look around in your own life. Have you seen someone less experienced get the role you wanted? Have you watched someone else seize the opportunity you dreamed about? Chances are, it wasn't because they were better. It was because they acted. They stepped forward when you stayed seated. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It could have been you. The antidote is courage, not permission. Courage to risk a no. Courage to speak up before you feel ready. Courage to take action without waiting for applause. Courage is what shifts you from living in reaction to living in creation. So make the shift now. Don't ask yourself, "Am I allowed?" Ask, "Do I believe in this enough to risk discomfort?" If the answer is yes, move. Waiting is quiet, and quiet doesn't change your life. Asking does. Acting does. This is how you reclaim your agency. You stop waiting for someone to bless your dreams. You stop handing power to other people's opinions. You stop checking the room for approval before you raise your voice. Instead, you check your own honesty. You check your own intention. And then you act. Hold on to this mantra. The cost of rejection is always smaller than the cost of regret. One no stings for a day. Regret echoes for years. Choose the sting. Build the scar tissue. Let it make you stronger. Because every time you ask without waiting for permission, you take another step into the life you were meant to live. And when you begin to ask more boldly, another skill becomes essential. Learning how to read the people you're asking. Because not every mind works the same way. To increase your chances, you need to step into their perspective before you speak. Now that you've stopped waiting for permission, here's the next key. Before you ask, learn how people think. This isn't manipulation, it's respect. Because the way you frame your request should connect with the way the other person sees the world. If you ignore their perspective, your words may bounce off like arrows against armor. If you step into their mindset first, your words land like keys in a lock. Most people skip this step. They only focus on what they want. They barge into conversations armed with their own urgency, thinking, "How can I get this person to say yes?" But persuasion without empathy often creates resistance. You may come across as pushy, tone-deaf, or oblivious. Instead, pause. Step out of your shoes and into theirs. Ask yourself, what do they care about? What do they fear? What do they need? Think of it as two languages. Some people speak in numbers and facts. Others speak in feelings and connection. Some care about control, while others crave peace. If you want to be understood, You must translate your ask into the right language. For example, say you want a raise. If your manager values data and performance, don't walk in with, "I've been trying hard." That's emotion. Instead, bring evidence, numbers, outcomes, impact. If your manager values loyalty and teamwork, highlight your long-term commitment and the ways you've supported others. The ask stays the same, but the framing shifts to match their values. That's intelligence. The same principle applies in relationships. Maybe you want more quality time with your partner. If there's someone who needs space to think, don't corner them in a heated moment. Give them room. Say, "I'd love to plan some time together this weekend. When would work best for you?" If your partner feels ignored when you're too distant, lean in with reassurance. Let them know your request is not a complaint, but an invitation to connect. Notice the pattern here. It's not about tricking anyone. It's about showing that you see them. People crave being understood. When you acknowledge their perspective, they relax. They feel respected. And respect opens the door to cooperation. Think about your own experiences. Have you ever felt someone was asking without really seeing you? Maybe a salesperson pushed a product without caring about your needs, or a colleague demanded help without noticing your workload. How did you respond? Probably with resistance. Now flip that. Imagine someone who takes time to listen, who acknowledges your reality before making a request. That's someone you want to help. The good news? You don't need to be a psychologist to do this. You just need to care. Pay attention to how people talk. Do they repeat numbers? Do they talk about feelings? Do they avoid conflict at all costs? These are clues. With practice, you can pick up on them quickly. Here's a tool. Before making a request, ask yourself 3 questions. What does this person value most? What stress or fear might they be carrying right now? How can I frame my ask in a way that feels safe for them? Even a small adjustment makes a big difference. Saying, "I know this might not be the best time, but I'd like to discuss this," shows thoughtfulness. It signals that you're not desperate. You're considerate. That respect often shifts someone from defensive to open. And when it comes to bigger asks, like trust, money, or opportunities, this awareness is even more important. People guard their time and energy closely. If your request feels careless, they'll pull away. If it feels one-sided, they'll resist. But if it feels thoughtful, balanced, and respectful of their world, they'll at least hear you out. This doesn't guarantee a yes, but it raises the odds dramatically. More importantly, it builds trust. Even if the answer is no today, the relationship strengthens, and trust earned now may lead to a yes tomorrow. Understand this. Not everyone will agree with your ask. Some will say no because they're busy, distracted, or afraid. That's not your failure. But when someone does say yes, it's rarely luck. It's because you prepared. You took the time to respect their mind, and that effort earns you more than an answer. It earns you reputation and long-term influence. So remember, asking without empathy is noise. Asking with awareness is power. Step into their world, then invite them into yours. That's how strong people ask. That's how smart people win. And yet, even with the right framing, one word still terrifies most people: no. The fear of rejection stops more dreams than failure ever could. So our next step is to rewrite what no really means, and why it might be the most valuable word you'll ever hear. One word has stopped more people than lack of talent, lack of money, or lack of opportunity. That word is no. It's amazing how 2 letters can carry so much weight. For many, no feels like a personal verdict. You're not good enough. You were wrong to ask. The door is forever closed. But the truth is very different. No is not rejection. It's direction. Think about it. When a door shuts, it doesn't erase your path. It simply tells you this isn't the right time, the right person, or the right way. That's information. That's clarity. And clarity is priceless. If all you ever heard was yes, you'd never learn, never adjust, never sharpen your approach. Every no contains a lesson that pushes you closer to the right yes. Yet most of us treat no like poison. We avoid situations where it might appear. We tell ourselves it's safer not to ask than to risk hearing rejection. That avoidance feels protective in the moment, but in reality, it's self-sabotage. Silence blocks growth. Rejection fuels it. Science backs this up. The same areas of your brain that light up when you feel physical pain also fire when you feel social rejection. That's why no stings so sharply. It feels like a wound. But here's the empowering part. The brain can be retrained. The sting doesn't disappear overnight, but repeated exposure makes it survivable. Each time you hear no and keep moving, you teach your nervous system, I'm safe. I can handle this. Imagine lifting weights at the gym. The first time, your muscles ache, you struggle, you want to quit. But with repetition, the weight becomes manageable. Eventually, it even feels light. Rejection works the same way. At first, it's heavy. With practice, it becomes fuel. You stop flinching. You start absorbing the lesson. You move forward stronger than before. Let's make this practical. Start small. Ask for things where no is likely. Request an upgrade at a hotel. Ask a friend for feedback on something uncomfortable. Offer an idea in a meeting even if it might get shot down. Each time you survive the no, your tolerance grows. And each time you ask again, you chip away at fear's power. Remember, no doesn't diminish your value. It doesn't define your worth. It doesn't close all doors. It simply redirects your energy. If one person says no, someone else may say yes. If one approach doesn't work, another might. Every no filters out the wrong fit, so you can find the right one. History is full of examples. Authors rejected dozens of times before landing a publisher. Entrepreneurs told no by investors until they found the right backer. Leaders overlooked until they stepped into the role no one else wanted. What set them apart wasn't luck. It was their refusal to let no become the end of the story. They treated rejection as feedback, not failure. So here's the reframe. A no is not the enemy. Avoidance is. The only thing worse than rejection is regret. The haunting thought of what could have been if you'd only asked. Which pain would you rather live with? The sting of a single no, or the lifelong ache of wondering? Let me give you a mantra. No is normal, no is neutral, no is necessary. Repeat it when fear grips you. Write it down. Because the sooner you normalize rejection, the sooner you unlock resilience. And here's the kicker. Often people say no for reasons that have nothing to do with you. They're stressed, they're busy, they're cautious. That doesn't make your ask invalid. It just makes it human. Don't attach your identity to someone else's circumstances. So ask boldly, accept no calmly. Adjust, learn, and ask again. Each no is one step closer to the yes that changes everything. And once you've faced rejection enough times, the next challenge emerges. Making asking so routine, so practiced, that fear barely has space to grow. That's the art of practice. the habit that transforms asking from a terrifying act into second nature. By now, you've seen how belief, courage, and resilience turn asking into a superpower. But knowing isn't enough. The final transformation comes through practice, making asking such a natural part of your daily rhythm that it no longer feels like a gamble, but simply communication. Asking, like any skill, becomes easier with repetition. At first it feels awkward, forced, uncomfortable. With practice it becomes instinct. Think about learning to ride a bike. The first attempts are shaky, filled with wobbles and falls. But with every try, balance improves until one day you're cruising without thought. Asking follows the same curve. At first, your voice trembles, you stumble over words, you overthink. But the more you do it, the smoother it gets. Practice transforms fear into familiarity, and familiarity removes the unknown, which is where fear thrives. Start with small asks. Request clarification in a meeting. Ask a friend for input. Ask your partner for a specific need. These moments might feel trivial, but they are training sessions for your nervous system. Each one chips away at the fear and builds muscle memory. Over time, you stop attaching emotional weight to every ask. It becomes normal. And here's the magic. Once asking feels normal, your inner dialogue shifts. You stop rehearsing excuses in your head. You stop attaching your self-worth to someone else's answer. You stop treating rejection as catastrophe. Instead, you treat every ask as practice, every answer as feedback, every moment as growth. Clarity is a byproduct of practice. When you practice asking, you force yourself to decide what you actually want. Vague hints no longer satisfy. You begin to say, "Here's exactly what I need," rather than "I wish people understood me." That precision not only helps others respond, it sharpens your own self-awareness. Respect also becomes clearer. As you ask often, you begin to notice who honors your voice and who dismisses it. Some people listen, respond, and support. Others ignore, deflect, or make you feel guilty for speaking. Practice reveals patterns, and once you see them, you can adjust, moving closer to those who respect your voice and pulling back from those who don't. And then comes the crucial step: acting on your asks. Asking is the door, but action is the path through it. Too many people stop at the question, then freeze. They gather feedback but never implement it. They request opportunities but hesitate to follow up. This stalls progress and reinforces hesitation. To break that cycle, pair every ask with a step. If you ask for feedback, apply it. If you ask for an opportunity, show up ready. If you ask for clarity, act on what you hear. Action seals the habit. Here's the deeper truth. Practice builds identity. Every time you ask, you send a message to yourself. My needs matter. My voice counts. My future is mine to create. Over weeks and months, that identity solidifies. You become someone who doesn't freeze, someone who doesn't overanalyze, someone who trusts their own ability to speak and act. That identity is unshakable because it's built through repetition, not theory. Now imagine your life after 6 months of practicing this habit daily. You've asked for raises, for clarity, for respect. You've said no to draining commitments and yes to growth. You've built a rhythm of speaking directly and acting quickly. At that point, asking no longer feels like climbing a mountain. It feels like breathing. And when asking becomes breathing, your world expands. This is the art of asking. Not perfection, not fearlessness, but consistency. Progress, not paralysis. Repetition, not hesitation. Every clear ask, every bold word, every small action compiles into a stronger, freer version of you. So let's close the circle. You started with a bold truth. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you ask for. Along the way, you learn to believe you're worthy, to stop seeing yourself as a burden, to voice your needs even when you're nervous, to stop waiting for permission, to step into other people's minds with empathy, and to treat no as guidance rather than rejection. Now, through practice, you've seen how asking becomes normal and how clarity and respect sharpen your direction. What remains is the daily decision to keep asking, to keep acting, to keep moving. That is how lives change, not in grand leaps, but in repeated steps. One clear ask, one bold action, one day at a time. And this is where we end. Yet really, it's where you begin. The next conversation, the next meeting, the next moment of hesitation, that's your chance. Don't shrink, don't wait, don't surrender to silence. Ask, act, grow. Because the future belongs to those who do. Your story doesn't end with this video. It starts with your next ask. The question is simple. Will you step forward or keep waiting? Here's the cadence to carry with you. Ask, move, adjust, learn. Ask, move, adjust, learn. This rhythm becomes your heartbeat. Every time you ask, you spark motion. Every time you act, you gain clarity. Every time you learn, you grow stronger. That's how momentum compounds. And momentum, once built, makes you unstoppable. Remember, you don't need permission. You need courage. You don't need applause. You need belief. You don't need perfect timing. You need a decision. That's the triad of transformation. So here's your call to action. Today, not tomorrow, not someday. Make one ask you've been holding back. Send that email, speak that truth, request that opportunity. The outcome matters less than the act, because the act rewires your brain. It teaches you, I'm a person who asks. I'm a person who moves. And when fear whispers that you'll look foolish, remind yourself, no one else is living your life. No one else carries your dreams. No one else has the right to silence you. Here's the image to leave you with. A door that has stood in front of you for years. Maybe you've stared at it, wishing it would open on its own. Maybe you've prayed someone else would turn the handle. But doors don't open themselves. They open when you knock, when you turn the knob, when you walk through. The door to your future is waiting, and it will only swing wide for those who dare to ask. So ask often, act every time. One clear ask, one strong action, one day at a time. And if this message resonates, leave a comment below. Share what ask you'll make this week. Subscribe to AudioBook Sanctuary and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story that could change your trajectory. Because your voice matters, your needs matter, your growth matters, and the art of asking is how it all begins.